Do you know what dessert is served in restaurants across the United States? It's a simple to bake cheesecake. Everyone can make one at their own home with very little prep time and ingredients. Today, I will talk to you about the materials needed for a cheesecake. I will show you a recipe walkthrough, and then we'll clear the table with the benefits of baking. Now pull out your mise en place chart because we are going to go over our recipes, or we're going to go through our materials. Today's recipe is going to be a New York style cheesecake, which is the most common style of cheesecake in the United States. New York cheesecake is a lot denser than most types of cheesecakes and focuses more on the creamy taste with the same texture. There's 14. According to Sarah Kilmick with Tasting Table, there are 14 types of cheesecake, but we're not going to be covering all of those today. The 3 styles of cheesecake I will talk to you about today, or I will inform you about today, would be the New York style, the Chicago style, which is more dense than the New York fluffier than the New York cheesecake, with more air incorporated into the recipe, and then the Japanese style cheesecake, which is a lot more similar to bread than the other types of cheesecake. Thanks to these 14 different styles of cheesecake, there should be something for everyone to enjoy in their own way. And thanks to the variations in recipes, you can adjust most recipes in any way you want to fit any sort of dietary restrictions you may have. Now, for today's recipe from John Kelman from Preppy Kitchen, you will need a stand mixer with a whisk attachment, and that should be all you need. Another thing you may need would be a springform pan, but you could also use regular pans. The main difference between springform pans and baking pans is the latch to take the edges off. The main purpose of a springform pan is to give it the rounded shape that a lot of cakes and pies have. But if you want to go for the traditional pie shape, you could just use a normal pie tin to get those like the triangle-shaped crusts. For today's recipe, you will need graham cracker crumbs that you can either have store-bought or make yourself with butter to make your graham cracker crust. To make your graham cracker crust, you're going to want to melt your butter down and then mix it in a bowl with your graham crackers. And then you just press it along the edges with your fingers, and then you can use any sort of flat edge tool to flatten it into the bottom. But before you bake your crust, you want to poke holes into the bottom, which will prevent your pie from bubbling up and popping. And now for the filling, you're going to want vanilla extract. You want 1 egg for every 8 ounces of cream cheese that you use. You'll want sugar, a lemon for lemon juice, and a bit of cream cheese to make the mixing process easier. I already covered the crust making, so we're going to look at something similar to this once you finally press it into the pan. Before you fill it with your filling, you're going to want to set your oven to 450 and bake it for 10 to 15 minutes. While your oven's getting preheated, you're going to want to start on the filling. For the filling, you're going to want to put your cream cheese into your stand mixer block by block, and then mix it slowly to help incorporate it all into one mixture. When all your cream cheese is finally incorporated together and a lot more smooth, you're going to want to include the rest of your ingredients, starting with your sugar, your vanilla extract, and your lemon juice. Once that's all mixed together, you're going to start including your eggs. When you're mixing with your eggs, you want to go one by one, and between every egg you add, you're going to want to scrape off the edges of the bowl to make sure everything's getting incorporated together. Once you get through all 3 of your eggs, or as you add each egg, you'll notice it gets a lot smoother with each egg added, meaning you'll get the texture that you want for your final cheesecake product. Once you've added each egg for your 8 ounces of cream cheese, you're going to want to set it into the pie crust to start. It should look similar to this, which will make it a lot easier to pour into your crust when you're ready to start filling. For baking the cheesecake, you're going to want to make sure it's mostly smooth And then when you set it in the oven, you want to set it into the oven at 415 for 15 to 30 minutes. When it's done baking after that time, you want to leave it in the oven, but just turn your oven off and let it sit for an hour. After, you should have a similar texture to this, and then you want to let it sit in your fridge for 6 hours to 3 days. The longer you let it rest, the better, the more firm the texture should be to fit what you're looking for. So when you're done, there's going to be these different types of cheesecakes you can look for. But aside from tasting great, there's many benefits to just baking. According to CourseHorse, there's many valuable life skills that can be learned through baking. A few of the big ones are your patience, through developing your patience through having to wait for each step of the process to all come together. It is your instruction following skills, learning to follow the recipes and not go off the script when you don't need to. And then your problem solving skills for trying to make sure you don't burn everything down. But aside from just the practical life skills from baking, there's also a lot of health benefits that can be learned from both baking and cooking. According to Harvard Health Publishing, there's been studies proven that knowing how to bake and make your own food can help with diets, and these studies have shown that knowing how to make your own food helps people follow through with their diets. Making your own food helps people choose what they need to eat to avoid certain things that could be dangerous for their health. And it also helps people eat smaller portions and feel a lot more connected to their food since they know where it comes from. All these benefits show that baking and cooking are essential skills for everyone to learn, regardless of what you make. So today's recipe guide, we covered the materials you'll need for baking a cheesecake, the step-by-step process for baking, and the health benefits through baking and cooking. I hope you all will note this recipe down and come back and visit in the future.